So I've said that Brexit would have a lot of bizarre, sometimes unintentional consequences that even we couldn't predict going forward. And one of the things, of course, we're experiencing, of course, is the shortage of, shall we say, lorry drivers. But in Liverpool, things are, shall we say, getting quite crazy. But we'll get on to Liverpool in a moment. But we've previously talked before about how many companies are now trying to pay bounties and offering, shall we say, more experienced drivers to come and join them. Of course, Tesco, of course, is the most infamous one, where they're offering about a £5,000 start bonus for just coming on to joining them. So that's just one of the things that we know about. But ultimately, there'll probably be other companies offering the same or maybe even higher. And of course, this might leave many other logistics companies who maybe aren't, shall we say, big, or maybe like the small to medium ones, that cannot match that pay rate or even that pay scale or even the bounties for these drivers. So ultimately, potentially you could see a lot of very small to medium logistics companies here in the UK go bankrupt or just out of business completely because, well, they just don't have enough drivers to be able to operate. And of course, the article that we're going to go into now, I think, only exasperates this problem even more. So before we do jump into this article, please do remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button. And of course, down below, there are links to my Patreon page, as well as one donation link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can, well, buy me coffee. And as always, thank you very much to all the people who do support the channel that way. So let's get straight into this. This is from the Yorkshire Bylines, and the title is The Bidding War for Liverpool Lorry Drivers. In the week that Business Secretary Kwasi Kwarteng refused to tackle the UK lorry driver shortage by granting skilled worker visas to long-stay EU lorry drivers, the Atlantic Container Line, the ACL, has been entering into a bidding war for British lorry drivers. Despite the continued absence of over the 15,000 Polish, Lithuanian and Romanian lorry drivers for whom left Britain on the eve of Brexit last Christmas, Kwarteng on the Daily Telegraph refused to blame Brexit for the problem and then say that this is only a short-term and flexible problem by trying to utilitize the strength of our domestic workforce. The ALC says that the problem is indeed a long-term one, and announced in an email to customers on Tuesday that a driver retention surcharge of around £45 will be charged on each container arriving in Liverpool from the USA and Canada, and on every container leaving Liverpool for North America after the 1st of October. The email said, "As you may well be aware from both the industry and the general media," said the LCA, "there is currently a severe shortage of truck drivers across the whole United Kingdom. The pressure on the supply chain has now reached a critical point, whereby in order to keep pace with the escalating demand across the huge haulage network, we now need to pay a premium on our standard rates to secure ongoing support from our core suppliers. Unless otherwise agreed, all carrier haulage moves will all equipment types on service contract and tariff moves from both export and import shipments will be subject to a driver retention surcharge of around £45 per container. Please understand that this additional fee will keep us in line with the premiums and incentives already paid by many other parties in what is maybe a very challenging and pressured market. We will continue to try and strive our best to try and meet your haulage requirements with the Far East exports building up at UK ports. We do not anticipate the situation easing up in the coming months. The surcharge is designed to try and enable container hauliers to pay a bonus for drivers delivering very time-sensitive cargo from the USA and Canada to Britain, to try and reload the empty boxes with British exports from the USA, Canada and Bermuda. The ACL service from Liverpool, calling at Halifax, Nova Scotia, New York and Baltimore, is the fastest transatlantic deep-sea freight link for shipping containers, vehicles and even helicopters. And of course, the improved Peel Port's Salford terminal at Poole is just a key point for the Jaguar Rover, the BAE Systems, Rolls-Royce, and Boeing and Airbus. The New York Times explained this week that in Britain, the average age of the truck driver is nearly 50. 6 years ago, the Chartered Institute of Logistics and Transport said that just 2% of drivers were under the age of 25, and that by 2020, the industry would need approximately 1.2 million more workers. Thereafter, the 2016 Brexit referendum, the value of the British pound plummeted, making it less lucrative for continental Europeans and truck drivers included to work in Britain, prompting some to return to their home countries. The trend only exacerbated was by the pandemic, in which many wanted to be closer to their families. When Britain took the final step to leaving the European Union at the end of last year, that meant that drivers from continental Europe could no longer be employed at short notice, as with ease in Britain. And until December, there was never going to be a labour shortage, because as soon as there was sign of one, the company could then start to talk to their agencies in Poland or otherwise and get them to send some people over, said David Heggie, a trade expert at the European Centre for International Politics and Economies, a research institute. The Home Secretary, Priti Patel, refused this week to also grant visas that will allow EU HGV drivers to work and live and distribute it in the kingdom. Like I say, this is going to just be a ever more increasing problem as this rolls forward. Like I say, and this is just going to go make an even bigger problem, because now you've got a company who's saying, well, now we're going to give these drivers an even bigger bonus. And it does cause an increase of problem. And here's the thing. This is how you know that there is a complete dearth of creative thinking in the Conservative Party. Because if you think about it, you do not want more Polish, more, shall we say more EU immigrants into this country. That was like your big thing. However, if you look at America, especially America, there is a big industry for truck drivers. So why then not start a scheme to try and attract over these American truck drivers? You know, come over here, live in the UK. You get free healthcare, better pay, better pensions, better rights. Could be quite an attractive proposition for many of the, shall we say, the big truckers over in America. And again, if they did that, well, at least it's a bit of actual creative thinking to try and solve this labour shortage problem. But as I said, the Conservatives are never going to engage in that type of creative thinking to try and solve this problem. And now that these bounties are going to, for truck drivers in the UK, are going to increase, this is going to put even more pressure on especially the small and medium logistics companies, who basically just can't afford what these larger companies can just essentially afford to throw at their truck drivers. So it's only going to create an even worse problem, because if you have a shortage and then you start to raise your prices, then obviously all those other, again, like I say, the medium and the small firms are going to start jumping ship to the larger firms, which is only going to create a bigger problem for those small and medium firms. This does not solve the problem at all. And the fact that no one in the Conservative Party is even trying to acknowledge that this is a long-term problem shows just how bad this is going to be and how long this is going to affect the UK. Bear in mind, you have a big logistics company saying that the supply chain in the UK is already at a critical state. That is incredibly, incredibly worrying. So as always, please do remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button. And also down below, there are links to my Patreon page and a one-off donation link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can, well, buy me coffee. And as always, thank you very much for watching. I will see you all